All right, so again, I don't know who did or who did not attend Bryn's presentation, but just to give to lay the groundwork, here. What is Genero? A lot of you probably know Genero is a superset of Informix 4GL, or legacy Informix 4GL. In essence, it is a suite of products, that will allow you to develop, deploy, maintain new or legacy business applications or services. And so again, you're going to hear me talk about a lot about business logic, that you can think of it as legacy or something that you want to develop new and maintain within the Genero infrastructure. And as Bryn also mentioned in his presentation, we also recognized as a low-code development platform, and we'll explore a little bit of that during the session as well. So just a couple of slides on coming from 4GL or i4GL to BDS, and and kind of the initial point, to doing that. We've proven countless times that you can recompile and run in Genero from Informix 4GL to Genero in text mode. So believe it or not, we still have customers that chose us for that particular reason, meaning they wanted to build some web services with 4JS. They wanted to start building some companion GUI web or mobile applications. They wanted to migrate to Linux to save on infrastructure costs. So there are many reasons that could be found to just do that and just leave it to that. Obviously, a lot of people decided to go GUI next, but this is always something to remember about Genero as well. You're going to hear me talking quite a bit about business logic and infrastructure, because that's really the value proposition, and it's really what matters a lot. It's really about that. It's really about maximizing your return of investment on your business logic. Again, it can be new, it can be old, it can be generated, you can manually code it, and then Genero will help you to modernize it and help you go to upgrades and migrations through using the tool. If you're specifically coming from i4GL, we guarantee you that you'll have something working in GUI that's functionally sound. It might not be pretty, but at least it will work. And then from there, you can do the transformation at your own pace, only adding, changes to your screens and not changing the 4GL whatsoever, and starting to add GUI widgets that we provide, or reports that we put, we're designing reports that we provide, and then at your own gradual pace, adding more and more, and go to explore the advanced UI capabilities that make it the superset of Informix 4GL. And so yeah. So, and again, that's the second big word, is the infrastructure. So Genero is an infrastructure, and you focus on the business logic. You focus on what makes your application unique, and what makes the value add for your application. And then you don't have to deal with the 3GL aspect of things, or recreating the infrastructure layers, the data access, the network, the user interface, etc. 4JS takes care of it for you. We are very good at adding features every step of the way. Every new release comes with features that are based also on market changes, so you don't have to deal with that. So again, new UIs, new web technologies, new standards, W3C, RESTful, new infrastructure, and like new cloud provider capabilities, new backends. So I think this is a slide that was in Bryn's presentation as well. So you can see here, you get a better idea of the cross-platform versatility of Genero, and the fact that the two main important things are those servers that are the little Genero servers. This is where the runtime system lays. So this is your binary code there, and with our dynamic virtual machine, so our virtual machines, and it's attached to an application server that makes the glue between the Genero code and the delivery of web applications and web services. And it's also a plugin to a web server. It can be Apache, can be IAS, etc. And so after that, once you bundle everything, you install all of the products, you get something that you can really, that is really scalable and industry ready. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have all of the clients that Forges provides. So we have a true client server model. We have desktop client, mobile client, web client. And so that's it. We also have something that I wanted to emphasize. Bryn kind of showed the two modes called universal rendering. And the idea in universal rendering is that we have several, and we had several layouts and look and feel for the different front ends that we support. And we decided to unify and provide a standardized look and feel and user experience by having pretty much the same layout across the board. And so what you can see here is that the specificities, the OS layer, the lower technology layer is still respected. So Windows, you can still talk to the Windows operating system or the iOS or the Android. That's always going to be specific to, when you deploy an application to the web versus to a desktop Windows machine or versus an iOS or an Android. But the layout is unified, which means for us as well, faster delivery for GUI features and bug fixes, etc. So I was talking about the Genero packages and the Genero products that you have to install, etc. So since we're talking about infrastructure, I just want to kind of taking a couple of slides talking about Genero Cloud Services, which is in essence, which is not in essence, it is a product that we provide as well, and it comes as a Genero container image. We call it a GCI, which is a Docker tune image, and that we will help you if you have the project of going to to deploy using Kubernetes, to deploy into Amazon Web Services, to help you deploying Genero images to it, and help you with the professional services with the product and with our expertise to deploy secure and scalable deployments in the cloud. So that's available today. Again, it's just for us, we just see this as a different way of selling the product. If you want, you have the standardized standard packages, installers, and then you have like a cloud image ready to go. So just to say that we're using industry standards for that. Nothing new. Our expertise really tends to be very AWS centric. So and we're using Amazon EKS as well for Kubernetes. So this is where our expertise lays. So we're more inclined to help people with specifically with using AWS as an infrastructure as a software versus other providers there. And again, as part of the team and what we've been developing and deploying to some of our partners already, we have expertise into all of those deployment characteristics, scaling, deploying Kubernetes objects, the load balancing, monitoring, etc. And then we have the service, the support, and the professional service to help you on board. So just wanted for you guys to keep that in mind as well. Okay, so I think Bryn really said that during his it is about the language. So the core component of Genero is the runtime and the compiler. So what we call the DVM as well, and he was talking about the fact that it's a small, a small product that we compile across the board. It is Crossplatform, and it promises to do exactly what Informix does, which is, getting information quickly from database and displaying to the screen. And then we adding a ton of features. Some are not GUI at all, some are GUI, some are operating system related. So here, for example, it can load a lot of different DLLs from XML APIs, utility APIs, like mathematical APIs, like operating system API, regex. You can add your custom C functions. We have a Java bridge if you want to allow the language to use some Java objects or to use some Java libraries. We can do that as well. And again, as I said before, we are adding a lot of features every year, with new releases. Now, just to give you some ideas, I kind of handpicked some features that were not UI specifics, just to show you how alive we try to keep the language. So user-defined types. So here you can see the type, the T customer type. So you can define types. You can very simply. I know that Informix 4G had some sort of an implementation for that, but very simple dynamic array structure here. You can let component assignment. So here you can see let I plus equal 1. Variable definition in co-blocks. Here you can see that instead of defining on top of the module, you can do a var and then define a value and initialize it in the middle of any functions, because it's just local to, you just need it for a specific, and a specific position or in your code, and you can just do that instead of having it all the way down up to the definition of the function. Passing record by reference. Here you can see there's an in-out keyword that allows you to pass record by reference. So kind of some ideas here. Import. So again, we're talking about all of the DLLs that you can import, XML, util. We have a lot of those that you can just then import and start using. Here you see util mat py. The import FGL as well, where it works like Java, where you just kind of load the module, as part of. So you don't have to do some link phases anymore, because it's going to load all of the 42 Ms or the modules, at runtime for you. So very similar to what .NET and Java do as well. Type methods, so you can define some specific types. Like here I have a type circle, and I can define some specific methods just for that type, etc., etc. But again, the main point is really to make the language more mainstream and to allow all of our partners to onboard new developers, and for those developers to have all of the capabilities that they have with other languages, along with Genero. Another example that I used, being a bit crazy with the red arrows there, but it's an interesting example here. SQL handle. So the idea of providing a 3GL approach to create some dynamic SQL. And then you can see here, setting parameters. You can open a cursor, you can fetch, and then you can get the result set all dynamically. So usually what people do is they couple it with some dynamic dialogues methods as well. And so they create forms dynamically, and they create SQL handles dynamically, and that allows them, for example, to create generic code for zooms or pop-ups. So you're reducing the code, so less bugs, and you have like a nice generic library that you can use across the board instead of having to repeating the code. So those kind of approach. So obviously, this is something that has been used by our partners that really enjoy, and also some of those are things that we use ourselves in our code generator as well. So we kind of did this a little bit for ourselves as well. So that was just, so first part for me was to show you a little bit of the language itself, no GUI. Another important part, because it's been so successful within the Genero, within Genero over the years, is the web services. And so first, it's a very mature extension API to the language. We probably 15 years old, maybe more since we had it. It's keeping up with all of the free W3C, so we're involving release after release to make sure people have all of the means. It's been widely used by our partners, so this is something we have to make sure we keep on par with the technology and the standards, because we have a lot of people relying on it. It's been so successful. It supports common architectures like RESTful, SOAP, etc. We support authentication, authorization token technology like OAuth2, OpenID. So, and the nice thing about it, well, we support also client and server model. So that means that you can either take some of your business logic or create some business logic and deploy it as an endpoint for third party to consume it. So you can take some legacy 4GL function and transform it as a web service, or you can do the opposite. You can have, even in text mode, you don't even have to be in GUI. You can actually write some code or generate some code that would consume a web service provider that's a third party within your Genero application. Since our, not the last version that we just released, but like the version before, we have a high-level RESTful framework, and it's really nice because it is high level. So so just to kind of show you and give you an idea on how it works is you can create functions, and those functions have special attributes. So what method, what is the path to get to the endpoint, or to the endpoint. You can do some versioning. What descriptions do you get? For the definition, what kind of errors do you want to handle if it doesn't work? And then you can also couple it with some web services scope for OAuth2. So, interfacing with a third-party identity provider or some sort. So we let you kind of interface that. But at the end of the day, from a 4GL or a Genero perspective, you basically create a function block, and then you just, get some input parameters from the URL, and then return some information back in JSON format, in XML format. So that's that. And then in the 4GL code, you need to add some logic to register the service here. Like you register the REST service, and then you just start it. So it basically just listens, like the runtime system just listens, and then the Genero infrastructure just will pick it up and manage all of the load balancing, the encryption, the delegation for the authentication, etc. But at the end of the day, it's a nice way of just writing Genero 4GL, because it's very function coding approach. So if I go back to here, service module, service path, and then here it's called suppliers, and then a resource ID that you get as an input parameter. So at the end of the day, you can see here from the URL, HTTPS, so it goes to a local IIS. In my example, that's my IIS. That's the application pool for Genero. And then here, that's the name of my REST service runtime program. And then after that, that's the name of my endpoint, and that's the name of the function I wanna call. And that's my input parameter. So after that, you just have to give it like through Postman here, using the simple example here, and then you go from there. So the flip side of this is you can from a client perspective, if you want to write some Genero code to access a third party, you can either manually code it, or if you have like in SOAP, if you have a WSDL definition for the web service, or in REST, if you have an open API.json definition, we can generate some code as well. And so the bottom line is, this is just an example of generated code, and then you just end up calling a 4GL or a Genero function and returning some value. And so whatever happens underneath is really, some Genero special sauce, let's say. Okay. Again, the important point is writing a server, writing a client. You can do both, and in a very quick and efficient way. Now, user interface. So obviously, that's an important part of Genero as well. I already talked about universal rendering, and so that's the idea of using a special front end that we provide called the Genero browser client as a layout, as a layout client. As Bryn mentioned as well, I don't know if you heard it or not, we have web clients and we have mobile clients. And so the mobile clients, we also have ways to package and deploy iOS and Android applications. So the idea is you can have a connected mode, or you can have a disconnected mode. So you can choose to either deploy a package to the iOS App Store or to Google Play deployment, and then have the application being connected, or you can have a virtual machine and all of the Genero stack within the package itself, and then you have a completely autonomous application running on your device. And then from there, if you want to connect, then you need to add some web services client logic that I just talked about in order to synchronize the data once you are connected to a network. So just to give you just a few screenshots. So on the left side here, you see a desktop client on Mac. In the middle, it's an Android client, and on the right side you have an iPad. And so obviously it's the same code using universal rendering. So the user have the same user experience across the board, same code, same screen, same everything. So how are we doing this? I mean, besides the 4GL code, you guys are coming from Informix 4GL, or you know about Informix 4GL, so you have some crimp design. So you have the choice of creating the screen so that you can see on the left here. So now we don't have a screen anymore in Genero. We have something called layout. We still support the screen syntax, but only in legacy mode, in text mode. But if you want to have all of the GUI features available, then you use layout. And then we have grids, we have tables, we have groups. So those are containers, and then you can add widgets. Again, Bryn was saying we have combo boxes, date edit, spin edit, button edit. You can see it on the left, on the right side. We have toolbars, we have top menus, we have folder tabs, etc., etc. Now, from this definition of the screen, we have our own XML representation of the screen when you compile it, the form, and then it will get loaded on the client side, and then there's going to be an XML synchronization between the client and the server. And what you see in the middle is what we call the AUI tree, or the abstract user interface. And so that's really our own kind of XML structure, which is similar to what you see in a browser when you're designing a web application. So XML based, and this is what the same XML will be sent across, whether you're web, whether you're desktop, whether you're mobile, and then the client or the front end is responsible to do the display and to deal with the behaviors on the client side. So we also have like advanced features. I mean, again, there's tons of them, but you can notice here well, let me just look. Well, I think Brent talked about this as well, but we have also the concept of multi-dialogue. So you have a dialogue with a display array and an input. So they're both active at the same time. And again, you can see on change. There's a lot of dialogue that get current rows. So there's a lot of features, obviously, to complement just the redesign of the screens. So let me just maybe just show you a little bit. An application running. Be jumping a little bit in my demo, but it's fine. So let me just see better this way. Okay. So here my display array is active, as well as my input. Lots of different widgets available here, etc. We have advanced features like a text edit. That's the equivalent to I don't remember the equivalent of in Informix, but it's basically a blob for text, right? And what can I show you? If I go to show location here, here you see when we don't really provide a widget, and people are looking for more sophisticated widgets. So here, this is Google Map, and here we have like a folder tab that we gave a decoration. So this is all things that you do on the screen side. Obviously, there are some logic for the specific web components, but the definition of a folder tab here, stacked, is something you define just on the screen. So and inside you have access to Google Map, and you also have interaction with the object as well, right? Through an associated API that we provide. So to the language. Let me see here. If we look at tables, as soon as you define tables, you can change what you can see, what you cannot see, how you can reorder. So this all comes because in the per file itself, you defined a table. So no, it's not this one. It's this one. So see here, table definition, you get the rest for free. HBox for horizontal boxes, VBox for virtual boxes. And once you've defined this, this is this is some things you get from there that the client is going to manage. Now let me get back to the presentation. Sure. Now, I didn't forget anything. Yeah, I don't think so. Here, form directives. So this is something we just added to our V4. So we've been asked for quite some time by our partners to add some responsive directive to the forms. And so we've done this, and we've done this on the form side. So those are things that you're going to adapt or do on the form side, not on the 4GL side, not on the code side. And you're going to get instant responsive directives to your program. So here, the stretch, which we had for a while, but we extended for almost all of our widgets as well as containers. And so basically they're going to expand or not, based on what you're saying and what you were saying in the form. So for example, here you can see that on the left side, that the labels are not expanding, but the fields are. So those are things you can say. And then the other thing that's interesting is that, and you're going to see it as part of the directive, is you also have like a size attribute. Oh, sorry, a size attribute, which is large, medium, and small. And so you basically can you can set rules based on the real estate that you have. So do you want to stretch if it's small or if it's medium? Do you want to hide if it's small, if it's large, you know, that kind of thing. So you can actually, by default, we define what it means to be small, large, or medium, but you can also change that as part of the configuration. And so again, those are directives that happen based on the real estate that you have independently of any coding. So same thing for flipped. You can see here when the table becomes small, it flips and you end up with a different style for the same table. So all of the information is more visible. And instead of having, you know, just a series of columns, they are stacked. And so it happens only when it's small. So it's only for smaller devices. If you're basically like for a smartphone, but if you're on a tablet or if you're on a desktop, you're not going to see it. Split the same way. So just to show you split, I think I have it here as well. So if I go back here, so split is the idea that my display array on the left and my form on my input on the right, they're both visible. Okay, and now at some point, yeah, there you go. See, when I'm in a small, then what's going to happen is that they're going to stack one on top of the other, and then I'm going to have a way to just switch. I mean, if I were to be on the device itself, I could use a gesture to do that. In the desktop mode, you have like those little bubbles but it's the same thing. And then as soon as I go back to you know, something that's medium or large, I go back. And again, those are things you can add and quickly have responsiveness in your application without having to do a lot for it. So we're pretty excited about that because people have been asking for that for quite some time. Just want to make sure I didn't forget anything. So if we talk about the user interface itself, it's based on a specific Genero browser client. So it's one of the front ends that we provide. We used to have 4, as I said. Now we're just gonna focus our energy on this one and kind of make it available across the board as part of the universal rendering initiative. So it's a true client server model. So you end up with a JavaScript project or runtime application that's loaded in your browser or loaded into your web or your mobile web. The name escapes me now, but it's going to come back to me at some point. It's highly customizable. So that means that you can customize the look and feel of the application quite a bit. But what's interesting about it is that it's based on industry standard. It's a separate project. It doesn't really have to, it's not really linked to the business logic itself. So like the designing of the screens and some of the things that you can do, the styling or the generic definition of the screens, those are things that the Genero programmer will do. But then the last kind of look and feel, specific CSS, HTML, JavaScript kind of behaviors or styling, you can actually apply what we call a split the team concept. So you have your web developers, you know, working on some customization in CSS, and you have your BDL developers. They need to obviously work together, but that you end up with a look and feel of the application, which, like, let's say 80% or plus is generic to Genero styling and Genero coding, and 20% is going to be you know, your front end specific customization. And And so that's also a very interesting concept that we've been kind of using for quite a while, and it's been working wonders for our partners, and I'm going to explain you why in a minute. But just to kind of show you, I mean, this is a basic example of what we just saw, but see here, by default my application is blue, but I can change it. I can change the look and feel of a data edit. I can, anything you see here, all of the widgets you can change to CSS, all of the coloring, so you can kind of create your corporate branding. Anything is possible. It's completely independent from the 4GL. You can also apply some specific rules if you are on a tablet or if you are, you know, on a mobile compared to a desktop. So you can really, there's a lot of possibilities in the customization of the browser client itself. And so what's been interesting over the years for our partners is that I think Brain talked about this as well. We had quite a bit of different version of web client. So we had Silverlight, we had a previous version of a web client. Now maybe in 5 years there's going to be a brand new technology. Right now it's Node.js and it's Bootstrap, and this is what this product is based on. And in 5 years, there's going to be a brand new technology. Everybody is going to talk about it. It's going to be super, you know, trendy. And a lot of our ISVs are competing in the marketplace. And so they end up having to change, because we're going to provide a client, you know, front end for that specific technology. They're going to have to redo granted, they're going to have to redo their customization on the client side or front end side. But all of the business logic, you know, the 80% that's already there, they won't have to change. So time to market, adapting to changes is going to be way much faster. And that's kind of the logic, because we provide the infrastructure, because we do that, then the adaptation is faster. So just to show you just one of our partners. So this is the same code and it's the same screen. So in the back, you can see it in desktop mode, dark mode. And then on the right, you can see it on I believe it's an iOS mobile. And so same code, same screen. And that's kind of the growl for, you know, some of our, between that kind of technology, that kind of thing that we do, plus the, you know, all of the redesign and the streaming of the code that they can do, streamlining their code, streamlining their forms. So yeah. So the last part of my presentation after the UI itself is the low code. Brain touched about it as well. So what makes us a low code development platform? So first, do we have a graphical IDE? Yes, we do. It's called Studio. We had it for years and years. Yeah, I'm going to show you some screenshots and as well as maybe a small overview. Do we have an infrastructure to create and deploy application software? Obviously, we do. It's Genero. And then a GUI process or workflow to design, you know, to design code, like pointing and clicking instead of traditional hand coding. And we do have that, and we've had that for quite a bit as well. And it's called Business Application Modeler. And so just wanted kind of to show that aspect of things. Just let's start with Studio then. So Studio, I mean, let's say it comes with all of the features that you expect from an IDE. I'm just gonna leave it to that. So form designer. So instead of writing code, just instead of writing the form itself, you can drag and drop. Same thing for reports. I really haven't touched on reports. I really haven't mentioned it at all. You know, legacy 4GL reports, same thing for screens, right? You have your screens, you make them, you know, you make them nicer, and you redesign them with Genero. It's the same for forms. So you can redesign your forms, your canned reports. We have a sophisticated designer that allow you to do some very complex design. And then we have an engine, streaming engine that's based in XML streaming engine that's going to stream the XML, the data, the 4GL data in XML to the report engine. And the report engine is going to apply the template, and it's going to display reports as well. So I have not touched at all. I mean, if you're interested in that aspect of things, obviously contact me. But that's another aspect of Genero as well. That's part of Studio, the report designer. We have a graphical debugger. So this is just a simple screenshot of running an application and stepping to the code. We have instant error detection. So that's obviously you don't really have to generate any code for that. Just by being in Studio, those are the things that you get for free, which is as soon as you make an error, it's gonna show you made an error. So you're not gonna see it when you compile. You're gonna see it as soon as you make the error. So it makes you like bug free or bug proof, better bug proof process. Same. So this is for the code here on the left side. You have the same for the screens, for the reports. You will see those errors manifest themselves right away. Code completion. We have code navigation as well, where you can see, what function was called where, so you can see the caller functions. You can also see, the definition of the functions as well. So a very clean way of navigating. So if you have new developers, some of our partners told us that if you have new developers, they don't know about 4GL or they don't know about Genero and they don't know about the code, you're trying to onboard them. It's actually a better experience to go through a discovery of the code using that kind of GUI interface than just VI. To be honest, we have a mixed bag between our partners. Some embraced Studio, some stayed with VI. Some you can do both. There's no requirements to do it. Obviously, it's better because once you made the migration, you get a lot of features, as part of the migration. It comes with standalone mode, or it comes in server mode as well. So you can compile locally, or you can compile on the server. So you don't have to really install all of the tools on each person's or each developer's machine. You might want to install it on the consolidated server, and then you can remote compile, you can remote debug, you can remote link, etc., etc. So we also have like a mixed bag between people that prefer to have, to use a version control and do everything on their machine, and people that just want to log to a SSH to a server and do remote server everything. So that was Studio. Application business model. So again, but this is basically a code generator. Let's call it. So the idea here is that instead of writing the 4GL code, you generate it through diagrams, and then the code generation produces 4GL, and then you can also add your custom code because we have what we call code events. All through the generated code, where you can just go to those specific code lines and make custom code, and we'll keep track of it. And obviously, because it's Genero code, you get all of the Studio features for free after you generated your code. So anything I just listed, error, debugging, etc., everything is obviously part of Studio. So it requires a database, so you need a database schema, and then what we do from there is you create and you design what we call I guess a meta schema, where you can say, okay, well, that specific field is always going to be a combo box on edit, and here's the label. So you start, creating some specific attributes, or adding specific attributes to all of your tables and all of your table columns, etc. Before you generate. And then from there, you have some diagrams that you can design. We can generate some logic for web. We have it's template based, so you have like desktop application, web application, you have mobile application as well, as you can see on the right side here. Phone, SMS, mail, map, all of those green are front calls, what we call front calls. So you can do specific things just for the mobile. So like from the application, if you want to do a phone call or send an SMS, you have, it generates the business logic just to do that. So you have to. On the left side, you can see as well that you can design web services as well, or you can generate web services as well. You can reuse the same modules for web services and applications, like you can see here. Like the JSON server is pointing to the same account form than the account. So the same business logic is going to be used and joined across running an account application versus a JSON server. So that's kind of pretty versatile there. Obviously, all of the latest features that I talked about, like the size, small, medium, large, that the responsive is already in the screen designer, so you can benefit from this as well already, in Studio V4. So that's always up on par. And then the last part of the application modeler is that you have different screens in the diagram itself. So let me just show you that quickly. It's the last minute after we can take some. So if I look at the diagram itself here, you can see here. See if I click on one specific module, you have a lot of options on behaviors, graphical behaviors that you point and click depending on what you want to do. Like see, for example, what action is being called to go from that field to that field is the item search. Do you want to disable some of the CRUD function? What do you do when you accept? What do you do when you cancel? And so those are code events. So if I take the order form here, and then I can just show you. Yeah. Can't remember, but I'm going to show you elsewhere. So if I'm going back to this one, let's say that's not the one I wanted. Sorry. Go back to this one then. Right. So here, let me just take this example, but and here it's a dialog event. So before you open the form, do you want to add some logic? So if you click on it, it will get you to the specific code function where you can start adding some business logic changes to the generated code. And so that code itself is going to be maintained and kept separately. So each time you regenerate the code, it's just going to reapply your specific changes to it. It's not going to be kind of lost. And so those are what we call code events. It's the example. On OpenForm. So I did cover a lot of ground. I'm done with my presentation. I believe it's 3 o'clock. I believe that there was a question, so I believe there was a question. I saw something popping, so just can't see it. Can one of the
Laurent, I've given John Dorgan had a question.
okay.
I unmuted him if he wants to ask.
Oh yeah, go ahead, please, John.
I was saying, is there an easy way for a developer to obtain a copy of Genero to learn how to use it and evaluate it at home? Or would we have to talk to a salesperson first? Is there some way to expedite this for people who are participating in the conference?
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, I need to talk. Well, okay. So there is a way. The way is just to go to our website, just and then to require for a copy, and then if you do this, we'll give you a license, a test license. So I'm not even sure where it is. I've never done it. But you know what? I'm going to take your name and I'm going to talk with Bren and with the IUG folks, and we'll get back to you. Let me just put down your name. John Dorgan.
And I think Jessica Flores had a question.
Santanu. Okay, Santanu. Yes, sir. Okay, great. Let me just see if I can copy paste. Okay. All right.
We'd like to thank you for your presentation, Laurent.
Okay, of course. And let me just go back to my my slides are going to be shared, or
Yes.
how does it work? Okay.
There's a recording that should be up either later tonight or tomorrow.
I mean, if I do a PDF, the presentation as well is going to be shared, or how does it work?
I will get to you on that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you guys, do a screenshot, take a picture of my contact. If you have any questions, or if you want to go into more details into anything that I presented or more, please do not hesitate.
Thank you again, and everybody have a nice evening.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.